Hello and welcome to The Report, Cal State Fullerton's premier source for news, views, and info. I'm Abby Fernandez.
I'm Monique Gonzalez.
And I'm Nicholas Garcia. On today's episode, we'll be discussing the possible filibuster against the Supreme Court nominee, Neil Gorsuch.
Plus, we'll be bringing you a report on the recent use of chemical warfare in Syria.
Also, we have stories on the recent CSUF tuition increase, as well as a Cal State Fullerton faculty student study showing evidence of abrupt sinking of the wetlands near Seal Beach. All this and more on today's episode of The Report.
Before we delve into our first hot topic, we'd like to invite you to be a part of the discussion this semester season. Click on the link in the caption of any of our report episodes to fill out a secure Google form with your opinion on any controversial issue that we've talked about now or in the past, as many of these issues are recurring and evolving, ranging from gun control to abortion, climate change, or the state of politics right now. All we ask is to please keep it civil.
Four Senate Democrats announced Monday they plan to oppose Neil Gorsuch, bringing the Democratic caucus to the 41 votes needed to sustain a filibuster against the Supreme Court nominee. The announcement sets Republicans up to change Senate rules, referred to as the nuclear option, to lowering the threshold of advancing Supreme Court nominees to just 51 votes from 60. Republicans who hold a 52-48 majority needed a total of 60 votes to end the filibuster, and as of Monday afternoon, they had 56 votes, including 4 Democrats who are voting with them. The majority party can still get around the filibuster by changing Senate rules and using the controversial nuclear option to lower the threshold needed to end debate. Democrats, in the face of strong Republican opposition, did the same back in 2013 to confirm lower court nominees. Now, Republicans, citing 2013 as a precedent, feel that it's their only choice, but it would permanently nix the filibuster for Supreme Court nominees, essentially giving the party in power all the leverage and eliminating the Senate's tradition of needing at least some bipartisanship to advance such nominees. As both parties have changed the rules before, is this a legitimate cause, given how controversial the Supreme Court nomination process has become? What do you think, Nick?
I totally disagree with this nuclear option thing. I mean, it's a scary thing to completely change the foundation of how Supreme Court nominees are chosen. I mean, in the past, we've needed some bipartisan, support, which would mean that you got a more moderate justice. In this case, we might get extremely liberal or extremely conservative justices without even having to consider the other side. So and the Supreme Court really can make huge decisions that last for 20, 30 years. So, I mean, I would fray away from the nuclear option, and I think that maybe Republicans need to consider what they did the last 8 years, and I think maybe they're having some amnesia as far as what they did the past 8 years, because now it's like the Democrats are not being cooperative. Well, you weren't cooperative with Merrick Garland, so there's an issue.
Yeah, that's what's so stunning to me is just the GOP had a much different opinion of the nuclear option just 4 years ago. So fast forward now, all of a sudden they want to change it. So to me, it's just like if they're trying to go around the filibuster, which I think anything like that should really just be, you just shouldn't do that,
I think, what you were saying, Nick, I think it's true because we head back, just a couple of years ago and, the Democrats weren't really feeling what they're feeling now, right? And so I think that they definitely need to segue back and understand that something that they did is causing this. Now, does this make this okay? Certainly not, because if it is changed from 60 to 51, it's a huge change that will continue on. It's not just for this time around. It will affect it, permanently for the rest of the time. So I think that it shouldn't happen. One of the questions was, is it a legitimate cause? Because of what happened before. I don't think so, because, if they do happen to do this, the Republicans will inevitably, take leverage of everything. And that's certainly what we don't want to happen.
Absolutely. We'll have to see how that plays out. Yeah. And in international news, our next hot topic, at least 70 people, including at least 10 children, have been killed in what is suspected to be one of the deadliest chemical attacks in Syria in recent years, according to activist groups. Airstrikes hit a rebel-held city Tuesday morning, giving off a, quote, poisonous gas, end quote, according to Anas al-Diab, an activist with the Aleppo Media Center. The attack, which has been blamed on the Syrian regime by activists and condemned by international leaders, has reportedly left hundreds injured. The Syrian military denied using chemical weapons and said that rebels were responsible. World leaders called the reported use of chemical weapons an outrage. The nature of the substance used in the attack has not yet been officially confirmed, and it is unclear whether the planes involved were indeed Syrian. In an apparent reference to the crisis, two state-run Syrian media outlets earlier reported an explosion at a, quote, rebel poison gas factory, end quote, in the countryside of Idlib province, implying that it was an accident related to rebels building chemical weapons. Idlib province is largely controlled by an alliance of rebel forces and is regularly targeted in airstrikes by the Syrian military and its ally, Russia. The Syrian coalition, an umbrella opposition group, referred to the suspected chemical attack as a, quote, crime similar to that in eastern Ghouta in 2013 that the international community allowed to pass without accountability or punishment, end quote. The tweet was a reference to the 2013 chemical attack on the Damascus suburb of Ghouta, which was blamed on the Syrian regime and prompted U.S. President Barack Obama to threaten military action. U.S. Senator John McCain called for President Trump to send a strong signal to Assad that the attack will not be tolerated. Referring to the 2013 chemical attack, McCain told CNN, quote, we've seen this movie before. It was when Barack Obama said they would have a red line. They crossed it and he did nothing, end quote. What preventive measures should have been in place, if any, and what will the current administration do? What do you think, Abby?
Well, in terms of preventions, I mean, we can talk about what could have been, and, you know, even President Donald Trump, you know, how he addressed this. He said, you know, obviously putting the blame on the Obama administration, saying that Obama had said back in 2012 that he'd put a red line, you know, against chemical weapons back there, and it didn't happen, right? He did nothing. So, and Mike Pence said the same thing, you know, that it was a failure. Obviously, it's not in quotes, right? But he said the failure of what's happening is because of the Obama administration. So all the blame is going back to them. And, you know, someone that I was talking to earlier said, well, they just continuously keep doing that. You know, the Obama administration blames the Bush and so on and so forth, and it's true, you know. So what can happen now? I mean, I think that, you know, President Donald Trump, what he is he's very affirmative. He's very controlling of situations, so he definitely needs to control this one, right? Yeah. So I think that he does have the attitude to be able to go in there, because it takes a lot, you know. You can't just go into a country and say, hey, I want to dominate, I don't want to let you do this. So, but I definitely think that he would be the man to do something like this, and we definitely need to do that, because Syrian people are suffering, and we can see it. And it has to be done.
Yeah, like what you said, we can't go back and do, oh, well, he could have, would have, should have, you know, did this. But, you know, like you said, President Trump did blame President Barack Obama for not acting aggressively. And that I do have to agree with him, because in a situation like this, when you know, rewind to 2013, I feel like former President Barack Obama should have acted more aggressively on the situation, you know? So now you're just having a repeat of what already happened prior. You know, so I do agree with him when the situation should have been handled a lot better back in 2013.
Well, I agree, but we can't hide. And I agree that a lot of presidents blame it on their predecessor, but the buck has to stop somewhere. And the way that Trump campaigned was as if it would stop with him. Like he was going to be the president that was strong enough and that he alone could handle it. And he's not handling it. So I think we need to see how this plays out. And I guess we'll find out in the next couple of months, because Syria is a huge issue. And 70 people, I mean, that's extreme.
And the kids, too, that were, I mean, the videos that were released about the kids, that just can't happen anymore.
Really quick, I wanted to ask you, since you were talking about that, Nick, I mean, inevitably, if let's say Donald Trump goes into this, right, and he says we're going to stop something in Syria, and our troops go there, you know, and it's just going to be sort of a revolt, right, again. So what do you think, how do you think the American public will react to having something like this happen to, you know, our valued, you know, troops?
Well, I mean, I think that nobody wants to go to war. Nobody wants ground troops to be sent in. I mean, as far as how the American public will feel, it's hard to tell. I think we're very split. We can look at the way we feel about refugees and relate it to that. We don't want to, most Americans, a lot of Americans, don't want to take Syrian refugees, which is unfortunate because they're over there dying. 70 people, children daily are being killed. So I think that it's a split decision. We don't know how the public's going to react. I do know that, I mean, based on his last approval rating numbers, Trump's numbers are down. I guess we'll see how he handles this and see how the public feels.
Yeah. Before the break, our reporter Madusha Polyaj had the opportunity to check out the CSUF Smash Club's video game tournament called the Big Block. where students smash it out old school. Let's check it out.
Okay, so basically, I guess we're the SoCal Project M and Melee community, and that's for a game called Super Smash Brothers, and we run tournaments just kind of all around Southern California. They have like a big kind of national scene as well, so they have people playing this game all over the world. We're kind of centralized over Facebook. We have like a Facebook group, SoCal Project M and SoCal Melee. And we have tournaments throughout the week in different locations. The one we have here is based out of, this venue was found by the Cal State Fullerton Smash Brothers Club, so that's how we got this venue. Ever since the game came out for Nintendo GameCube, they've been running tournaments, and when each new Smash game comes out, a new scene forms. People run tournaments for that. My name is David Lee, aka Humble Dojo. I'm running this with Jason.
Okay, hi Jason.
Yeah, this is Jason Waterfalls, and then our last person who's running it is Courtney, aka Zesty, and she's the streamer, so she's the one who like records all the matches and broadcasts across the world.
A Cal State Fullerton faculty and student study shows evidence of abrupt sinking of the Seal Beach wetlands caused by ancient earthquakes that shook the area at least 3 times in the past 2,000 years, and researchers say it could happen again. The paleoseismology study reveals that the Seal Beach wetlands at the National Wildlife Refuge, a nearly 500-acre area located within the Naval Weapons Station and next to the communities of Seal Beach and Huntington Harbor, are susceptible to rapid lowering in elevation during large earthquakes with magnitudes of 7.0. Matthew E. Kirby, a CSUF professor of geological sciences, stated, quote, "Imagine a large earthquake causing the Seal Beach wetlands to sink abruptly by up to 3 feet. This would be significant, especially since the area is already at sea level," end quote.
The California State University Board of Trustees have approved tuition increase for the fall 2017 term. Annual tuition for resident undergraduate students will increase by $270 and will generate $77.5 million in net revenue for student success initiatives, including Graduation Initiative 2025. The tuition increase are the system's first since 2011. Board members in support of the tuition increase said that a lack of state funding brought them to make a difficult decision despite student opposition. In the past 10 years, state funding for the Cal State system had dropped 12%, according to the CSUS budget. The meeting was met with large pushback from the Students for Quality Education organization, which has clubs on many of the CSUS campus. Students who could not fit into the public section of the meeting room continued protesting outside during the meeting.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode, but we want to know what you're thinking at home, so jot down some questions or comments below. And don't forget to tune in next time around for more news, views, and info. I'm Abby Fernandez.
I'm Monique Gonzalez.
And I'm Nicholas Garcia. Stay fresh, Fullerton.